If you're in a market and one ad says, best dentist in San Diego, we do dental implants, and another one says, get a free virtual consult from our clients before you even come in, which one do you think someone's going to click on first?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Raving Patients podcast. First off, I want to thank our sponsors, both Dental and Tel and the doc sites. Without them, I couldn't be doing this. And I also want to remind everybody about my event in September 29th and 30th. 2023 in Delray Beach, Florida. It is called Supercharge Your Dental Practice. It's a 2-day event. The first day is on the marketing side of your practice. And on the second day, we're going to be focused on the business side of your practice. We have 18 speakers, 14 hours of continuing education right on the beach in beautiful Delray Beach, Florida. You'll hear more about it on there, and we'll talk about it at the end. But I want to bring on one of our sponsors, one of our main sponsors of the event. They're a gold sponsor. It is Your Virtual Consult. With Michael Anderson. Michael's going to be the guest today. I've had a long history with them through the relationship with Wondrous as well. And I first heard about this product back in pre-pandemic at the AACD meeting. I've had my eye on the product. I've used it while I was still practicing. And I wanted him on here to really talk about this great product. The title of the episode is Doubling Case Acceptance Using Virtual Consults. So please welcome to the Raving Patients podcast, good friend of mine, Michael Anderson. Mike, thanks for joining me today.
Great to be here.
So to begin with, why don't you kind of give a brief intro? You can start with Wondrous. You can talk about YVC. Just give a brief intro about you and how you came about having this product or coming out with this product. Why don't you start there?
It's hard to believe, but I've been in the dental industry now close to 10 years. And it really started with Wondrous Agency, which is a marketing agency that my wife, Laura, and I started about 10 years ago. And really just started the two of us. We had a friend who was a dentist and needed some help. And we've grown a lot since then. So, we've gone from a kitchen table to an office in San Diego. We've got an amazing team of 60 people. And we work with, about 800 clients around the country. But today's not about that. Today is about another story. And probably getting close to 5 years ago now, we had dentists, actually a few, that reached out and said, hey, we've got this problem. We've got this idea. Wouldn't it be great if a patient could, send us photos of what's going on and maybe answer a few questions, and then we could send a video back. What we want to do is we want to maybe pre-qualify people before they come in and really create a relationship, instead of, having to have them jump through all of these hoops. I know if I just record a quick video, we can get to a place where we understand each other. And so we started to think about that. We said, wow, that's a really interesting problem. But, if you ask 10 different dentists how they want to record a video and send it to a patient, you're going to get 10 different responses. Some are on Instagram. Some are going to record it on their phone and text it. Some will record it on their phone and put it on Google Drive and send it. And there's no way to track anything. It's not HIPAA compliant. There's no structure. And so I think what we found over time is that even the simplest things that you want to do require a process. So we set out to solve this problem. And about 5 years ago, Your Virtual Consult was born. And it's a software company that's specifically built to help dentists connect more easily with patients that are maybe not ready to come into the practice yet, right? They know they have a problem. They want all-on fours. They want aligners, but they're doing their research, and it's 10 o'clock at night, and they want to ask a few questions before they're ready to spend a lot of money, or they're ready to take their time and come in. What's the best way to do that? And so we've really focused for the last 5 years on perfecting a software that makes it easy, not just for the patients to connect with our dentist, but then holds our dentist's hands through a process that makes it predictable and easy for them to respond in this amazing surprise and delight way that will, create trust and create a relationship before the patient walks in the door.
It's really funny because in my early versions of my career, when I had a brand new website, I had a product that I used called Snap Imaging. And it was a way to basically, we had Photoshop as well, but sort of Photoshop was complicated. But I had something on my website called See Your Smile. And what it did was it basically allowed a patient to send me a photo of themselves, and I would go ahead and I would edit the photo and send it to them. But most of the time, they couldn't even take a great photo back then because times were different. And it allowed me to reach out to the patient ahead of time and start a relationship like this. So I've always been someone who's always been in the forefront of technology. And when you first approached me about this, I thought it was a great idea. So I think it's one of the necessary things that, all businesses, all dentists should use to basically disarm the patient before they come in the office. And I teach case acceptance a lot. It's one of my main classes I give now. And one of the things I talk about is how to disarm the patient. And it's getting in touch with the patient ahead of time. It's talking to them on the phone. It's getting them to relax when they come in the office because they already know who they're talking to or who they're going to see. This just adds to that and makes it really much easier for a practice, a dentist, somebody else to really just take a couple minutes of their time and connect with the patient before they even come in the office. Invite them into the practice. And when they come in, get the patient to ultimately say yes to the services that they need.
I think one of the things that we like to start with is it's not a clinical tool, at least not in its first best use. I think people hear virtual consult, and the first objection I often got, especially pre-pandemic, was, well, I can't put a plan together for someone that hasn't sat in my chair and I haven't done an exam and I haven't gotten x-rays. And it's like, well, yeah, of course you can't. Yes. What's happening today is that patients that you want to see, dental implant cases, aligner cases, all on X cases, they're calling your front desk and they're saying, hey, I've got this problem. I want to come in. What's the number? I'll ask you, because you have this. What do you think the number one question that those patients ask is when they call the front desk?
How much does something cost?
How much does it cost, right? And most of our front desks are trained to say, well, I can't tell you that. No, I can't give out pricing, right? So you hear that ugly word, no. That's a killer. And why do they say no? Well, it's for good reason, because we don't know yet. We don't have the clinical information. And I think what's so powerful about what we're doing is we're able to take a no and make it a yes and say, yes, we'd like to try, but I need you. I'm going to text you a link right now, and you need to take a few photos and answer a few questions. And it might give us enough information to give you an estimate. But more importantly, you're going to have a video from the doctor that's going to start to build trust. And if at the end of that video, the doctor says, listen, I don't have enough information yet to give you pricing, but you just met me and now I'm going to invite you in for a free consult. Do you think that's going to be more or less likely to get someone into your practice than your front desk saying, no, I can't give you price?
100% so. So to begin with, just so people understand, because some people may be listening to this or watching this and they don't even know what it is. So just to be very clear, what it is, it's a widget that is installed on the website. The main form of it. There's other uses of it, which we'll get into, but the main form, it's either, I'm sure you can put it anywhere, but it's usually in the lower right or lower left. And when they click on it, they can send a message. They can upload photos of what their teeth look like, and they can ask questions. The office receives that, and then the office can respond with a custom video if they want. I mean, I don't think most dentists do that. I think most dentists use one of the recorded videos for the topic they got. But ultimately, the goal is to really just get the patient to come in the office and schedule an appointment and meet them in person. I think that's ultimately what it is. So, but I think people need to understand what your virtual consult is. Because some people may not realize that it's something that goes on the website, and you have a back-end portal that you can set everything up. So why don't you just quickly go through, in an easy, like I said, it was more complicated for me because I didn't design the product. Why don't you just go over truly what the product does and the uses of it?
Yep. Let's follow a prospective patient first, right? So you're a prospective patient, you're looking for a solution. Let's say in this case, you're missing some teeth and you say, I know I'm looking at potentially dental implants, maybe some kind of a fixed denture appliance. You go on a website, and I know when I do my research, guys, it's after hours, right? So there's nobody to call at this point. I'm doing my research, and on a website, you either see a form that you can fill out or a widget. And for what we've designed, it's really cool. The widget, you actually see the doctor kind of talking. You can't hear him, but if you click on it, it pops up sort of like an iPhone. It's the same shape. And the doctor in, 15 seconds or less basically says, hey, thanks for being here. I want to invite you to start a conversation with me. Click get started. And at that point, you're able to select a service or a problem that is aligned with where you're at. So you could say, listen, dental implants, that's what I'm interested in learning more about. And then we ask a few questions that are tailored specifically for that problem. We also ask that a few photos be taken. Now, if you're on your phone, it's as easy as clicking a button and taking those photos. You can also upload photos from the computer if that's how you're filling the form out. And then the doctor gets alerted, right? They're going to get a notification. You've got a new prospective lead. At this point, they're able to log into our platform where they can manage all of the different leads or cases that have come in. And when it's a new case, they can click in and we've got a wizard that's kind of got a step 1, step 2, step 3, just to hold your hand and make it easy. And, the first step, we have sort of an automated template that just is written. It says, hey, you're interested in dental implants. This is what we can do and this is how we can help. That template can be modified by you. So we make it easy. We give you something right off the bat. It's been written by our clinical co-founder, Dr. Brian Packard. So this is all dentist created content. If you say things a little differently, you can make a tweak one time and it will always be there for you in the future. You can personalize it for each person or you can leave it the same. Next, we're going to progress to a place where you can select from casework. I am a huge believer in case presentation. If I'm someone that's looking to spend a lot of money on something, I want to say, well, hey, have you done this before? Does it look good? Am I excited by the results? So we do have a case library of example work you can use, or you can upload your own. And then the third step, this is the big one. You're able to go in and through our software, record, and you can speak directly to the patient. So it's personalized. If you're someone that gets nervous about speaking, you say, listen, this is not for me. I don't know what to say. Well, we've got a built-in teleprompter. When you click the record video button, video pops up where you can see yourself and you can then select from different scripts that we've either pre-written for you or you can upload and modify yourself. And you can adjust the speed so you can read at your own cadence. It makes it super easy. You can also upload pre-recorded videos that you've used in the past. And then finally, this all gets packaged up and sent out. So imagine being the patient. They reached out, it's 8:00 at night. They said, yeah, I'm interested in learning more about implants. And then you get a text message the next day and it's from the dentist. And they say, hey, yes, I can help you. And let me talk about the process that I have and let me share a bit about myself and my team. And I'd like to invite you in for a consult. Wow, it's amazing. The experience is so different than calling a front desk and hearing, no, I can't give you that, or getting a voicemail. It's really personal. In addition to that, the last thing I'll share is that we also will automate the follow-up after this happens. I know for a lot of our practices, you get someone that's interested, guys, it takes a little bit of nurturing. You got to stay in front of them. And most of our front desks don't have the time to do that, right? It's a Post-it note on a wall that it gets a little less sticky 2 days later and it falls down the back of the desk. You need to stay in front of someone that says, I'm interested in an all-on for solution. You might want to do that for a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, just to make sure they come into the practice. Our software does that so that you not only have an amazing first impression, but you're able to stay in front of them for a long time.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, there's so many advantages to using a product like this. I think one of them that I want to touch base on, and I know you have data to support this, is really the increase in case acceptance. Patients getting into the office, they get to meet the owner or the dentist before they come in. Technically, you disarm the patient because of that. You get them relaxed when they come in, but ultimately the goal is for them to say, yes, I want to do treatments. So what have you seen from your customers or your clients who are using the product? What have you seen when it comes to an increase in case acceptance?
The ADA has some data on this, and what we've seen historically is about an average close rate of about 41%. So that's kind of national standard average. And
bad.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly could be better. And I think that with your virtual consult, what we've seen is that has increased typically to about 80% or higher. And I want to be clear about why that is, right? There's two sides to it. One, I think it allows you to get to know people better so that when they're coming in, they're more likely to say yes. And also, it will help pre-vet some people. I know every dentist has had the experience where somebody sits down and early in the conversation, you identify this is probably not going to be a good fit for either of us. but that's still chair time that's being used. And so we have had many of our your virtual consult dentists say, as much as they love having the patients come in and they're warmed up and they're more likely to close, they're just as thrilled to not have some of the patients come in because they were able to have a really brief interaction ahead of time that helped everyone understand this is not a good next conversation. So sometimes it's just as important what you do as what you don't do.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I've actually, what you said here is I had a patient come in the office wanting to get dental implants. She had dentures and she wanted to get fixed implants. And the very first question, she spent 20, 30 minutes filling out the paperwork. Obviously there was time involved with the team to get ready for the appointment. And when I walked in the room, she said, I'm interested. I'm like, that's awesome. Did you have a budget in mind? And she said, my budget is $3,000. and there was nothing. I can't even do a single implant for $3,000. So I told her that, and literally I've never had someone leave my office so quickly. She was in and out within like 30 seconds, a minute. So obviously that may have saved, if we had something like this to engage the patient, and she found out ahead of time, what type of the investment could be, it probably would have saved her a trip to the office, filling out the paperwork, a consultation, et cetera, et cetera. Because that you weeded out someone there who was not a good candidate.
And you would have used your chair time differently, and that has an impact on your bottom line. So I think for me, it's all about maximizing the efficiency of chair time, right? That's what we want to do.
Got it. So I know we mentioned a couple of these things during our talk already, but I wanted to break it up a little bit more for them. So you guys make it super easy for someone to get started. One of the things I know you offer them a teleprompter because honestly, dentists, some of them are not comfortable in front of the camera. Now, Brian I think did an amazing job. I show a video during my sessions where I talk about your virtual consult, and Brian is amazing. I think he's one of the best people I've ever seen, the way he just does it, and he's very at ease. Most dentists are not going to be that. They're not comfortable like that. So talk about the steps that are involved to kind of, or how you make it easy for them to make it where they feel comfortable in front of the camera. Let's start there.
Yeah, and that's something we've only learned through getting feedback from our dentists. Recording videos can be hard, and I think we had a few of our dentists say, "Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be great if you could do this for me?" I love what Dr. Brian Packard has to say. I just don't know the words to say, and so that's where it became really important for us to build a teleprompter. It's super cool, honestly. Like it's almost its own product in a way. And you're able to go in and use scripts that we've provided. They've been written by Dr. Packard himself. So this is exactly how he'd say things. You can edit those scripts, so you can make small tweaks, or you can write your own. And that means you're always ready. It also opens the door for you to have other people on your team do this, whether it's a treatment coordinator, an associate. It creates scalability and consistency across bigger teams, which is really cool. So yeah, that's one of the big things we've done to make sure this is easy. The other one, when we first launched the product, every single new patient request that came in, you needed to respond with a personal video. Well, by asking patients to identify what they're interested in, implants, aligners, all on X, we're able to put them into a video funnel and let you one time set up the platform and respond generally. You think about it. Most of the time, if someone walked up to you and said, "Hey, I'm interested in dental implants. Could you help me with that?" 95% of what you're going to say to them is going to be exactly the same. "Hey, well, let me tell you what it is. Let me explain the process. Let me tell you a bit about me and my team and why I'm so passionate about doing this. And here's some examples of the work I've done." It's the same every time. And if you find that you are, in fact, saying the same thing multiple times, you can record it and then it will automatically get sent out. I always like to call this is like cloning yourself. Wouldn't it be amazing if you had another version of you and that version of you just loved talking to patients or prospective patients and just wowing them with how amazing other you is going to be when they get there? That would be so cool. Well, that's basically what this software does. It clones you and it lets you kind of do all that upfront work so that they get excited to talk to real you. And that's been huge for a lot of our practices.
No, I agree with that. I mentioned, and you said that, there is a widget placed on the website. That's one way to implement the product, but there are other ones. And I think you alluded to one of them very quickly, that when someone calls the office, you can actually then send them a text message and say, click on this link, follow the instructions. Can you talk about some of the ways to use it within the office more than just putting it on the website?
Yeah, exactly. So that sort of traditional way is someone comes to your website or they interact with you on social media and there's a link and there's a form and they fill it out without you really inviting them to, right? They just discover it. The other one is actually part of your digital workflow in Office. And there's really 2 or 3 ways we've seen this be incredibly effective. The first one starts at the front desk. And I think I would almost call this triage, right? It's like someone's calling and they're asking a question that the front desk cannot answer, typically pricing. And that's where rather than saying, no, I cannot, you can say, yes, we can, but we need you to give us more information. The trick here is to say, don't say, well, go on our website. Say, let me text it to you. And in our software platform, you can literally put their phone number in and you can say, did you get the text? Great. I want you to click on the link. You can fill it out while I'm on the call with you. And I want to make sure we get it. And our team will be able to review that. Now, in some cases, you may want to use this like for emergency cases. We've had practices use this to literally do emergency triage ahead of time. They see a photo of what's coming in. They say, okay, great. We know what we're getting into. We're going to be ready, right? So that's one scenario. Another is a price-related question. Hey, I can't answer how much a dental implant is going to cost for you. Send us the photo and either a doctor will literally personally respond and say, oh, you know what? Let me give you a quote. Or you could have an automated response go out that creates trust and brings people in. So those are 2 big ones. The other big one for me is kind of preparing for someone to be in the office. We have pediatric practices specifically that are using this with moms that are concerned. They'll say, hey, my kid fell over the weekend. I'm concerned about the tooth. They take a photo and they can either say, everything's okay, don't worry. Or they'll say, bring them in on Monday. And rather than doing a consult and then having you wait and prep, we know what we need to do. And we're ready to go on Monday because we got that information ahead of time. And so that level of preparedness for practices that want information ahead of time has been really awesome to see for some of our really creative practices.
And if you are working with a company who's doing Google AdWords or high case funnels, you can add this to that as well. So when people are looking for those specific procedures that you're focused in your virtual consult, you can make sure that they have this information at their hands as well. And that to me it makes those AdWords even more valuable when you have a product like this.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. I'm a big believer when it comes to marketing, and you need to say something that helps you stand out. And if you're just another dentist jumping up and down saying, I'm a dentist over here, you're not maximizing your marketing. And so, I'll leave it up to anyone listening to decide. If you're in a market and one ad says, best dentist in San Diego, we do dental implants, and another one says, get a free virtual consult from our clients before you even come in, which one do you think someone's going to click on first? And we found this in our marketing on the Wonderist agency side, where again, we work with like 800 clients around the country. Virtual consults are a big deal. And I think the thing that everyone needs to recognize, whether or not you as a clinician like this idea, we live in a convenience-first culture. Netflix, Uber, you just go down the list of things that we all prefer, right? You say, I don't want to have to go somewhere else. I want it to come to me. Medical care, fortunate or not, is going to bend in the direction of the convenience culture we have. And this is one of those sort of early steps forward where I think the consumer really likes this. And dentists and other clinicians who jump on this, they will see a boom in their practice where the people that are holding on to how it used to be and saying, no, I don't want to do it, they will ultimately be left behind.
That makes a lot of sense. Talk about the process of getting started. What's the time frame from, hey, I want to get started to actually having implemented? How much of a time constraint it's going to be? What does the team or the doctor have to do? Talk about that for a couple seconds.
So what we've found, and we've done this for a while now, is that the setup is the most important part. Anyone that says you can snap your fingers and set something up in one day, it takes buy-in from the team. It takes buy-in from the doctor. We found that we can have one meeting. It's typically a 1-hour meeting with our doctors. and we're able to get them fully onboarded onto the platform. However, we've also found that it's really important that we continue to support them so that we get this stuff installed on their website, right? Hey, we need a widget, we need a form. We get buy-in from the front desk and have continued accountability so that if we agree someone's going to ask about pricing, we're going to text them this link that there's adoption. And so what we found is that in the first 30 to 60 days, it's critical for our team to continue to support our practices and make sure that there's not just setup, but adoption. And I think that whatever software, process, company you use in your practice, it's really important that you see it that way. You can set anything up. Adopting it and using it will always take some time. And our practices that actually go through the work of doing that are thriving. The practices that don't, they're the ones that are saying, hey, this didn't work for me. And it's like, well, there's no easy buttons in life. And this is the exact same thing. You need to actually implement it and make sure that your team has buy-in.
Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about when it comes to your virtual consult before I switch to the Q&A we talked about?
I would just, again, say that if you're considering something like your virtual consult, ask yourself 10 years from now, do you think that there'll be more technology like this or less technology like this in dentistry? And do you think that the practices that are early adopters will benefit? For me, I choose to believe the answer is yes. And so we're so excited to welcome other like-minded people that want to be at the beginning of the next chapter of dentistry and really serve patient populations at the highest level they can.
Okay, perfect. That was great. Thank you so much for that information. I want to switch to the Q&A part. It's a lightning round. So first question number one is, who do you look to for advice or mentorship?
Advice, I'm very lucky in that my wife, Laura, and I are partners that own the business together. And so we have really supported each other. We're the first people we go to for advice. And then, I'm a big believer of creating mentor circles. We've got some wonderful other, business owner friends in San Diego that have formed a great, tight mentor circle that we can go to. And if we don't know the answer, they usually can give us a kick in the butt and point us in the right direction.
So if I was to ask the same question to Laura when I have her on about Wonderist Agency later in the year, if I ask her that same question, will she say she looks to you for mentorship? I'm just kidding.
You know what? I'm not going to set her up, so we'll see what the record shows. But
yeah, that's good. It's going to be like the one with that was in the 80s where they asked the husband and wife questions. You got points for answering them correctly. Newlywed Game. That was a Newlywed Game. So, what habits help make you successful? I'm
going to give the honest answer here and say that if Laura was with me, she would jump in right now and say that I'm a habitless person. And habits have not been a strength for me, although I think it's one of the things that has actually helped me be very successful, which is unusual, right? You read these books about CEOs and they wake up at 6 a.m. and by 6:30, they've had the same breakfast they have every day. The reality is, I think Laura and I talk about this all the time. One of our greatest strengths, I think our greatest strength is that we know how to take punches. We know how to handle hard things and get back up. And I think for me, by not having a lot of, inflexible habits, I'm very adaptable. And so, owning a business is hard. Every day is different. And I think that for me, it's the flexibility that I brought into my leadership style and into our perspective on growth that has really helped us grow faster and grow stronger than a lot of other companies that we know and talk to, because it can really beat you down and it can really be hard if you have a defined idea of what needs to happen.
Perfect. Describe Mondays for you in one word.
Mondays. At this point, it's usually an inbox that's over 600 emails and triaging that. But I do have the one habit I'm very good at is I keep a pretty rigorous meeting schedule, and so my Monday meeting schedule is pretty baked in. The second half of the day is going to be a lot of leadership focused meetings that's going to set the stage for the rest of the day, and that's been a really good habit and a really good tradition that has made sure the rest of the week goes well.
Which 3 adjectives describe your strengths?
I think flexibility, which we've talked about, is going to be one of them. I think clarity is another one. I think that I've learned the hard way over time that if you're not clear about expectations with people, then things go awry quickly. And I think one of the other big ones for me right now is grace. I think having grace with myself. I'm far from perfect. And if you beat yourself up, it can be really hard to grow. And then one of the things I'm the most proud of with both Wonderist Agency and with Your Virtual Consult, the teams that we have consistently recognized for amazing cultures. And while we could talk about ping pong and kombucha and happy hours, it's really a culture of grace that allows people to feel comfortable that they can take risks, and so that's been a really, really big thing for me.
That's really funny, because my next question, which came up before you even started, was how do you build your team? So it was about your team anyway. That was really a good introduction to that.
Yeah. It's something we've spent a lot of our time on. It's amazing to me because people, I think, if they're vetting Your Virtual Consult or Wonderist, they're going to say, well, impress me with how smart you are in software development or in marketing strategy. And what I found more often than not, for all of us, we're all business owners, and the core of business is really having a good culture and good people. And so for us, what we've really leaned into is one, finding the right people. That's not always been easy. We started out with Craigslist ads, and we found some great people, by the way, but we've continued to learn how to ask the right questions to predict the right people that we're going to hire. And then it's to really have a meaningfully good culture. We've won San Diego's Best Places to Work, I think, the last 3 years. It's something we're really proud of. And I'll just echo what I said in the last question. If you were to step into the Wonderist office, it's got all the startup trappings. It's a really cool space. It's got ping pong. I know you've been here. You spoke recently, so you can bet. It's got office dogs. We do a lot of great social events. But at the end of the day, there's one story that I always lean back to. That Google did a study, and they said, "Hey, what makes a good culture?" And people said, "Listen, it's not the ping pong table, but it's having the confidence that if I were to get up in the middle of the day and play ping pong, I wouldn't be judged for it, right? It's having that level of trust and respect." And so that, for me, is the foundational thing we've done really well. And we've always course corrected if we start to feel ourselves drift in the wrong way. We've got a wonderful team that does that. The last thing I have to acknowledge, in case she listens here, is we've got an office and culture manager, Sarah. We've actually invested and we pay someone to manage our culture and keep it moving forward. And that has just been the biggest win for us. It's made sure that we do not lose our way.
That's awesome. And last question, and then we'll finish up, is what about the future are you most excited about?
As a group of people, and me personally, someone that is always looking forward to the next biggest and brightest thing, there's always another mountain to climb. I will close on a more personal note, which you know a little bit more about as well. My wife and I are welcoming our third child in just a few weeks here. We've had a few complications come up, and so we're just eager and waiting for her to be born, for us to get a chance to meet her. And I'm just so excited to get a chance to see what her life's going to be like, and to grow our family. So, as much as we talk about business, at the end of the day, I think, I'm really proud of what we've built, both at Wonderist and Your Virtual Consult. But, anyone who's a parent, I think, will quickly agree with me. When you're building your family, and we have 2 other kids, we've got a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, and now 1 on the way. There's just nothing that excites me more than watching them grow up. And I think it's always a great thing that recenters me on what really matters. It's fun to play. It's fun to build dental practices and software companies. Why do we do it? It's because we're all excited about the futures of the wonderful kids we have.
I think that's awesome. I think that's the perfect answer too. So well done. So Michael, what's the best way, if people want more information about Your Virtual Consult, what's the best way for them to get that information, number one? And I know that you have an offer for the listeners and the viewers. So why don't you toss that out as well?
Yeah. So what we're doing for all of your listeners, we do have a setup fee, but we're going to knock 75% off of that setup fee. So that ends up being about $250 to get going. For me, the goal there is I want no one to have an excuse on why they wouldn't want to try Your Virtual Consult. So for me, that's a pretty low barrier to entry. If you get one case from this, it probably pays for 2 or 3 years. Pretty easy way to start. And for anyone who's interested, you can go to yourvirtualconsult.com. You can learn a little bit more about us. You can also schedule time with our team. So that's the best way. If you're like, I want to do this, go there, and you're going to schedule a 15-minute demo. Of course, you want to take a look at this before you commit to it, and we'll answer any questions you have. If you have questions for me personally, you can reach out to me at michael.anderson@yourvirtualconsult.com. yourvirtualconsult.com, and I'll be happy to schedule some time and talk to you personally about any questions you have.
So again, that's michael.anderson@yourvirtualconsult.com. All right. Perfect, Michael. This was awesome. Thank you so much for spending 40 minutes of your time with me. I'm really glad that we got able to do this. I'm glad that we were able to kind of get the information about your virtual consult out there for people who may not know it exists. And guys, I use this in the practice. The new owner was using it as well. We loved it. So I highly recommend you give Michael and his team a call or reach out and learn more about the product. I think you'll find it's a no-brainer for the practice. If you like this episode, please let your colleagues know. Please say, hey, go listen to Michael Anderson on this episode of the Raving Patients podcast. You can find us on all the podcasting networks. Like us, subscribe to us, review us, all really important. And remember that I have a meeting coming up. You probably heard it on this episode as well. It's called Supercharge Your Dental Practice, September 29th and 30th. Michael and his team with both Wonderist and Your Virtual Consult will be a sponsor, and Laura, his wife, will be one of the speakers at the event. You don't want to miss this event. You can save $100 on registration by using the code RAVING, RAVING. You can go to www.superchargeyourdentalpractice.com, www.superchargeyourdentalpractice.com. Michael, thanks so much for joining me today. We'll talk to everyone soon. And remember, your reputation matters. Thanks again, Michael. We'll talk to everyone soon.